Okay, the recorder is on. You may call the order. Yes. Red Paul?
Okay. I would like to call this meeting of the Commission on order. The time is 1:01 p.m. on July 8th, 2020. I will now be reading updates to the board policy. In the interest of public health and safety and pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N2920, members of the Commission on Aging and staff in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with the executive, the public may view this meeting online, but not in the council chambers. The city launched a virtual commenting portal, e-comment, that allows residents to comment and participate in the meeting from their own homes. You can find the link to e-comments at www.chulavistaca.gov/boards. Your comments may be received before I call for the close of the commenting period in order to be considered. After commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief allowed commissioners time to read any comments that have difficulty or need assistance with e-comments during the meeting. Please call 619-993-5000. Staff will assist. I would
But I wanted to tell you guys that red button out there.
Hi, Chair Crawford. This is Christina from the clerk's office. You're breaking out a lot, and just in the interest of preserving this for the public record, is there a way, do you have a phone that you can use? I can walk you through changing your audio connection. Okay, so on your WebEx screen, there should be 3 dots towards the bottom. If you click on that and then you click audio connection, several options will come in. The preferred method is the call in or the call me. The call me might be a bit faster. And then you just enter the phone number and WebEx will call you.
Oh,
you want to disconnect from your current device.
Okay, and then to a device?
Yeah, so click the 3 dots, go to audio connection. It's going to show the current connection that you have. Disconnect that, but give me 1 second, because once you do that, you won't hear me. And then 4 options are going to come up. If you can please select call me, then you'll enter your phone number with area code and then hit the blue button and it'll call you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you sound great.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to redo that part. So I would like to call this meeting of the Commission on Aging to order. The time is 1:04 p.m. on July 8th, 2020. And I will be reading new board policy changes in pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order. In the interest of public health and safety and pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N2920, members of the Commission on Aging and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with the Executive Order, the public may view this meeting online, but not in the council chambers. The city launched a virtual commenting portal, e-comment, that allows residents to comment and participate in the meeting from their own homes. You can find a link to e-comment at www.chulavistaca.gov/boards. Your comments may be received before I call for the close of the commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief pause to allow the commissioners time to read any comments that have been received. If you have any difficulty or need assistance with e-comment during the meeting, please call 619-993-5004 and staff will assist you. Would the secretary please begin roll call?
Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Correa,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Mallon, Commissioner Pusatili,
Here.
Commissioner Tran,
Present.
Commissioner Crawford.
Here. All right. I shall now proceed to public comments. Public comments is a section on the agenda for members of the public to address the board on items that are not listed on the agenda. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final public comments. As a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear.
For the record, Commissioner Mallon, can you please acknowledge? Can you please verbally state that you're here?
Hello? Hello?
Thank you.
Hello?
Commenting period for public comments is now closed. Have the commissioners had enough time to read any submitted comments available?
No, there are no comments.
All right,
Also, for the
Secretary
record,
Gonzalez, would you?
Commissioner Allen is absent for this meeting. Please
Okay,
remember
thank
to keep your mute buttons on.
Thank you. Secretary Gonzalez, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received?
No comments were received at this time.
Thank you so much. I shall now proceed to action items. The next item on the agenda is item 1, approve of annual report of activities. Does staff have a presentation? All right. And commissioners, just to let you know, as part of the attachment with the agenda earlier on, there was a list of accomplishments that we've done throughout the fiscal year, if you want to take a look at that. All right. Okay, so following action item 1, the recommendation is to approve annual report of activities. Do we have a motion to approve of the activities?
Paul,
Yeah.
staff is ready to do public comment before.
Okay. So public comments now? Okay, I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item before commission deliberation. As a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear.
There were no comments received.
Thank you so much. Do any commissioners have comments or questions? Please use the raise your hand button or raise your hand on your video cam so I could hear you. Commissioner Kelly, if you please unmute and provide your comment and question.
The only question I have, since I'm pretty new to the commission, can you tell me when our fiscal year runs?
So the fiscal year runs, if I'm not mistaken, and I hope staff could correct me, it starts July of one year to the end to June of the following year, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
My pleasure. Do we have any other questions and comments from the commission? All right. All right, so now I will now request each member to vote by roll call to approve the activities for the fiscal year. Can I have the secretary do the roll call for me, please?
Commissioner Corby.
He has to repeat them.
Commissioner Crawford, can you please repeat the motion?
Oh, yes. Do I have a motion to approve the apologies, the annual report of activities?
I make a motion to approve. First,
Do I have a second?
Johnson. Okay, I second.
Okay, so I have a motion I got a first from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Corbell. All right.
Thank you.
Now I'll ask you to do it.
And now Secretary Gonzalez, can I have you conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Corbeil,
Approve.
Commissioner Johnson,
Approve.
Commissioner Mallon,
Approve.
Commissioner Persikili,
Approve.
Commissioner Tran,
Approve.
Chair Crawford.
Approved. All right. Thank you so much, Secretary. And now we'll proceed to item number 2, presentation from Angelica Rocha from Circulate San Diego. Do we have a presentation for this item? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, commissioners. My name is Angelica Rocha, and I am a planner at Circulate San Diego. I believe what's in front of you is the report, but I just was curious. Let's see. I sent in a presentation. Would it be possible to have that presented? I believe Giovanna Gonzalez should have received it. If not, we can adapt, and I'll just present from here.
Hi, if you're familiar with WebEx, we can pass you the presenter role. We were unable to get the PowerPoint presentation at this time.
Okay. Yeah, I can just share my content, correct?
Yes, give me 1 second to pass the role to you.
Thank you. All right, let's see. I'm just gonna zoom in here. Is everyone able to see this, or is the window strange?
I can see it.
Thank you, Madeline. All right. Well, thank you all for having me. This is my first WebEx, so I'm hoping I do it okay. So for the last 12 months, Circulate San Diego has been leading the West Chula Vista Safe Routes for Seniors project with support from the City of Chula Vista and financial support from Kaiser Permanente. So today I'm here to present some of the findings. I believe I have met most of the commissioners back in November, and my colleague Jana would have met a couple of you back in September. So nice to see you all on the screen here today. So our agenda is for the presentation. I'm just going to review the need for safe routes for seniors, the approach that we took during this year, and some findings and recommendations that we've outlined in a report that I believe was also sent to you. And just a quick question, are you able to see the whole screen in the PowerPoint, or how is it looking?
Angelica.
If you wanted to go down on your PowerPoint presentation next to comments, the middle grid, the one with 4 little squares, the next one, I'm sorry. There you go.
And then you see, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry, 1 sec. Then I lose my notes page. Let's see if I can do, oh, here we go. What if
Is she doing?
sorry, if I do that, I lose my notes. Let me see. Can you view it this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let me just get adjusted here. Okay, so what is Safe Routes for Seniors? So Safe Routes for Seniors is a program that is focused on creating and enhancing the environment to be more supportive of walking and bicycling. So perhaps you've heard of this program, Safe Routes to School, originated in the Bronx in the 1990s and has been implemented in a number of cities across the nation. Here in San Diego, cities like Chula Vista, San Diego, and Oceanside have implemented this program to focus on really safety issues for children walking and biking to school. And so this program, Safe Routes for Seniors, has been designed to increase the opportunity for physical activity, mobility, and connection through infrastructure and safety improvements, but also encouragement programs. And as many of you know, there's a number of reasons why the data shows why senior mobility is very important. So according to SANDAG, significant demographic shifts are expected across our region. The population of older adults is expected to grow by 194% in San San Diego County from 2012 to 2035. And then according to the age-friendly report that Chula Vista published, the city of Chula Vista is expected to have a 32% increase of seniors or aging adults 55 years of age or older over the next 15 years, and 58% increase in the next 30 years. And one thing that I find really interesting is that the California Health Interview Survey found that 24% of individuals 60 years of age or over in California live in one-person households. So they are living independently on their own, meaning that a variety of transit and mobility options must be accessible for older adults and seniors to access solo, regardless of the disabilities, regardless of the abilities that they have. And that nationally, older adults, older pedestrians have fatalities that occur 2 times the rate of the general population. And just, bringing it close to home here in the city of Chula Vista, roadways are more dangerous for seniors than any other demographic. What's on I believe your left-hand side. So seniors account for 21% of all the bicycle and pedestrian collisions from 2010 to 2019. You'll see that adults account for 50% of the actual collisions. But if you look on your right-hand side, seniors accounted for half of all the pedestrian fatalities. So while the actual collisions that senior pedestrians and cyclists partake in, they do account for a majority of the fatalities as a result of. And this is alarming. So the approach that we took here for Safe Routes to Seniors, I'm just going to go over the project goals. We had 3 main project goals. The first was to raise awareness of mobility issues faced by older adults and seniors. The second was to engage senior residents, local stakeholders, to develop a mobility assessment that includes an inventory of destinations in West Chula Vista and where they would like to access via public transportation and what are the barriers preventing them from doing so. And then the third goal was to develop a strategic toolkit, or this report that I've shared with you all, that aims to address those barriers that we've identified. And so through community engagement, we had a series of approaches that we reached the city of Chula Vista with. And I just want to start by sharing that through a variety of different efforts, we engaged 128 unique unduplicated residents in person. And obviously, as we know today, we're standing in front of our screens. We had to also shift into online engagement. So we were able to engage 234 residents through online resources. And that was through online surveys, also making our suggested walking route map available on the internet, which had been viewed 226 times as of June 15th. And so hopefully we can continue to circulate some of those online resources that we've created, and they will live to a different platform in the future. But going back to what we've done on this project, we did a number of community presentations. So we presented at the Mobile Home Rent Review Commission, a special joint meeting of your commission, the Commission on Aging, and Healthy Chula Vista Advisory. And then a third sort of announcement for the stakeholder group, which is when I met you all last, a presentation to the Commission on Aging. The second engagement strategy was the National Senior Citizen Day. And this was really to help promote senior mobility and have greater conversations with a variety of seniors. And so we just helped host that on August the 21st and solicited a bit of that mobility assessment findings and inventory at that event. And we formed a Safe Routes for Seniors stakeholder group, which some of the commissioners were able to join us, and 14 other stakeholders participated. This was held on the first Wednesday of every month from January to March. The fourth meeting, which was set for April, was canceled due to coronavirus, but we were able to solicit feedback from our stakeholders through an online format. And then lastly, a mobility assessment was conducted, and we collected information through a number of different ways. The through paper surveys, at these community presentations, which I've mentioned, in-person discussions, interactive mapping, sort of sticker board activities, and then other community conversations with the Chula Vista Walks group, the Alzheimer's Association, and other stakeholders who requested these one-on-one community feedback opportunities. So moving into the findings and the recommendations. So overall, the largest, how I would kind of summarize really all that we found through this initial research is finding that West Chula Vista seniors would like to see increased mobility options to access these 4 criteria, and it's recreation, shopping, place of worship, and medical or community services. So I'm going to show a map here. Essentially, through those variety of different strategies, we asked people and seniors, where is it in West Chula Vista that they would like to go to? And what are the barriers that are preventing them from doing so? So you'll see on this map here that we collected an inventory of destinations. Those include places like the San Diego Bay Marina, senior centers, commercial areas, health facilities, public amenities, community service centers, and places of worship. And I'm sorry if the dots are small, but this map is also available in the report. And you'll also notice that they do make up really a large chunk of West Chula Vista. There is sort of a density of spots in the downtown area, but they do really span all of West Chula Vista. So when we think about senior mobility challenges and how to address these issues, we really have to think of it on a scale of how do we get people around the entire city. And so moving on to the recommendations. So based on the input we received, we outlined 4 recommendations to improve senior mobility. And then the recommendations were developed through conversations, our stakeholder group discussion, and then also from professional planning insight that we have on our team at Circulate. And what I really wanted to strive to do in this report and these findings was that I wanted to develop short and long-term strategies. So thinking that short-term strategies are these programmatic non-capital improvement projects that are less expensive to implement and can be rolled out on a 1 to 3 year timeline. Whereas these long-term strategies are capital infrastructure improvements or major policy or citywide policy adaptations. And so I'll get into that, but just thinking through the difference between where that fits in a timeline and how that might align with other efforts of the age-friendly efforts and the active transportation efforts. So the 4 recommendations included improving senior transit access, develop a senior mobility media campaign, implement age-friendly pedestrian improvements, and I'll explain all of these in just a moment, and then consider flexible vehicle-based options. So moving into recommendation number 1, improving senior transit access. So this one has 2 strategies. The goal was some programmatic strategies to encourage transit use. And so the first strategy that we came up with was to host pop-up MTS enrollment events at senior serving facilities or living communities. And this strategy is really thinking about how to improve ease of enrollment. So through our stakeholder discussions, we found that seniors can purchase one-way fares for buses on a bus or on a trolley station. However, monthly passes require advanced Compass card purchase, and that can be done at the Albertsons grocery store on 3rd Avenue. And that's really the one retailer in West Chula Vista where seniors can purchase these reduced sort of fare Compass cards. And we also learned through our stakeholders that older adults with disabilities, and when we say older adults, that's typically people 55 to 65, and then a senior is 65 and up. And so you're still at this in-between range where you might not have all the access and ability as you do maybe when you're younger, but you don't quite count as a senior. So you have to go and apply to the actual MTS center in downtown San Diego. And this is really challenging because it requires multiple visits through multiple times. So one sort of thing that we heard from a stakeholder was that perhaps, there's this like wiggle room of area where it's not so easy to just get downtown San Diego. Maybe MTS can come to these senior serving facilities once a year or a couple times a year. And then the second strategy is this transit training program. And so this idea is really to partner with local community business organizations, senior centers, or nonprofits to bring transit training programs to seniors and their families. And so thinking about how to build confidence for seniors to use public transportation and really educate them on how to use it, not only from purchasing a pass to boarding to understanding routes. But then also thinking about how to really incorporate it into their daily activity. There's a number of models to use and leverage. MTS has a Taking Transit 101 workshop, and Circulate San Diego, which I've led a number of times in a number of different communities, is this transit for fun idea. So I've done it with high school age students, where I took Crawford High School students to the local climbing gym that was accessible by bus from their school. And just that notion of, whether or not they get in a car every single day or they walk, most of them were not transit riders, and they had no idea really all the places they could go. So it's just being able to bring personal experience from people who ride transit to those who don't, and really trying to improve the access for them. And this strategy, which is interesting and great, is that it aligns with the Age-Friendly Action Plan Goal 2.1A and Goal 2.1B. So thinking about how to align basically the recommendations that we found into the goals and strategies that are being implemented through a number of different avenues with the City of Chula Vista. And then moving on to recommendation number 2, develop a senior mobility media campaign. And this idea is aligned with, again, the Age-Friendly Action Plan. We heard from our stakeholders that there was this need to share more information about for seniors explicitly being able to use, or how to start, or just encouraging seniors to engage in more active modes of transportation. So a highly visible media campaign that could be hosted as part of the City of Chula Vista's age-friendly effort, sharing information such as what are the bus routes that take people to the doctor's office, to open spaces and parks and grocery stores and shopping areas. How do they enroll in senior disability passes? How do you catch a bus? What is the bus schedule? And so thinking about, what are the needs of seniors, and how do we get them that information? And some things we actually asked our stakeholders is, how do they receive information, and where should the media campaign share this information? And we found that informational flyers or handouts at senior centers was highly encouraged. So places like the Norman Park Senior Center and or doctor's offices. So a lot of our seniors actually said that they, when they're waiting in the lobby, there's those sections that share information. Perhaps the media campaign can be in places like that. Or in senior and assisted facility living communities such as Frederica Manor or the mobile home communities, wherever information is shared through that, social media, newspapers, or emails to existing groups and networks. And the third recommendation is implementing age-friendly pedestrian improvements. So this strategy is looking to address pedestrian infrastructure issues. And so the short-term strategy that we've identified is to work with city engineering to review a number of identified crosswalks and sidewalk challenges. And I'm going to show a map, but just to put a pin on that, we have some more information to show. But essentially what we heard from a lot of the seniors that we engaged with is that crossing time of intersection is a really big concern for senior pedestrians in the area. And this is not something specific to Chula Vista. This is an ongoing issue in a number of cities across the nation. In fact, a group called Transportation Alternatives, which is a group similar to the organization that I work for, but in New York, found that seniors cross the street at a slower rate than what's actually established for a designated walking speed in an intersection. So seniors cross at 2.5 feet per second. Whereas crossing times are set for someone who is able-bodied or someone who can walk 3.5 to 4 feet per second. And so with our stakeholder group, we identified a number of intersections in the Northwest neighborhood where crossing times are challenging. And so I'll show that in just a second, but just thinking about how we can use that information to share it with engineers in the city and maybe see if there's some opportunity to adjust that crossing time. Another short-term strategy is developing suggested walking routes. And so our Circulate has taken a first stab at creating a suggested walking route for West Chula Vista. And essentially what that means is what is the best route of travel. And so we've done it based on vehicle miles traveled and traffic density, but there's internal knowledge that's really useful when creating these maps of people who are on the ground saying, well, actually, I know that it says that this is a really low traffic corridor, but it's better sidewalk on this side. So let's do this route. And so one way that cities can improve walking is really trying to identify for their pedestrians what is the best route, and we've made our map available online, and I'm happy to share it with you all, but it is also in the report. And just so how do we get this information out to seniors? And then one long-term strategy for these implementing pedestrian infrastructure or age-friendly pedestrian infrastructure improvements is implementing senior pedestrian zone policy. And so this is actually a pretty cutting-edge policy, citywide policy. And so a senior pedestrian zone policy calls for the implementation of a series of traffic calming strategies to reduce vehicle speed and enhance pedestrian safety in areas where there's high density of seniors. So that would include senior facilities, senior centers, residential areas. The city of Atlanta, Georgia actually became the first city to adopt a formal senior zone ordinance. So, when you're driving to a school, you see a school zone sign. And so it'd be kind of similar to that idea, but in areas where there's a dense population of seniors, there would be perhaps a sign, but also a kind of encouragement for the city to implement safety improvements to these zones. Some safety improvements could be low cost safety improvements could be creating leading pedestrian intervals. So when you're at a red light and you're waiting to be able to cross as a pedestrian, instead of the green light for the car and the green light for the pedestrian occurring at the same time, the pedestrian would go first, either 5 to 9 seconds before the car's green light would go. And so what that does is essentially gets the pedestrian ahead, gets them in the intersection, and gets them hopefully moving on before and reduces the conflict between the car and the pedestrian. Or longer pedestrian crossing times, which we've heard from our stakeholders that's important. But then there's also these long-term projects that are, aligned with other infrastructure recommendations that are similar to what AARP has, which are lane narrowing, safety buffers, pedestrian scaled lighting, removing tripping hazard, curb ramps. These are all really, they're expensive and they're capital improvement projects, but are important if we're going to think through what do seniors actually need and where are they and how do we make sure they get them. And I'm going to show you that map that I was referring to. So this is a map on the, I believe, your left-hand side. That we actually had a mobility assessment where we asked our stakeholders, what are the issues around them? And we met at the Norman Park Senior Center. So keeping in mind that most of our residents were very familiar with this area of West Chula Vista. And so when thinking about how to do this, to continue this work into the future is really trying to go to those different areas in West Chula Vista. So this is by no means comprehensive, but for the time constraint, this is what we did. And so there's a number of different challenges that have been identified in this community, or this segment of the community. The biggest issue was crossing times. Yes?
Your audio connection
is bad. Hi, can you hear me? Hi there, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, I'm gonna proceed. Is that okay?
Definitely. Sorry, it was
Okay.
on our end.
Okay, nope, thanks for letting me know. Keep me updated if anything changes. So this map here is, okay, let me go back. Okay, so this map that we're looking at is a map of the number of challenges that were identified through our stakeholders. Dots 1 and 2 that are in blue indicate the intersections where crossing times are challenging. And so that could be sort of a somewhat easy fix where we're just thinking about increasing the distance and the time that pedestrians are able to cross from one side of the street to the other. And then also a number of other issues were identified, such as crosswalk visibility, vehicle speed and driver behavior, and sidewalk challenges. And so this information's in the report, and hopefully these issues can be addressed, but we can continue moving forward with this research, is trying to identify where all these issues are. And I just want to add as well that the city of Chula Vista just adopted the active transportation plan, which of course you all know, but some of these issues such as crossing time and perhaps this crosswalk visibility, which are very senior specific, are not always addressed in active transportation plans, which is really important that we ensure that seniors are present in the discussions that take place for active transportation plan outreach, but then also that they're taken into consideration as we move forward and where we prioritize our active transportation plan efforts. And the last recommendation is, the last recommendation is recommendation number 4, and to consider flexible vehicle-based options. And so this is a long-term strategy, but basically, we are trying to address barriers of active transportation that are caused by the low density development of Chula Vista and the San Diego region, basically, because as we noticed in that map a few slides ago where we collected the inventory of where seniors wish to travel, the land use patterns have really affected transportation decisions, and low density land use, and inadequate active transportation infrastructure, low frequency bus service, and a car-centric community really impacts the ability for a senior and all ages in Chula Vista to choose whether to walk, to bike, to take the bus. So a long-term strategy is to really think creatively about other non-traditional transportation strategies. And so there's a number of emerging mobility technologies that are entering the transportation sphere. So when we're thinking about how to best serve an aging community, such as the community in West Chula Vista, we need to be on the forefront of understanding what those technologies are and how we might be able to implement them in these communities. So neighborhood electric vehicle is just one of them, and that's a battery operated zero emission electric vehicle. The top speed is 25 miles an hour, and so they are legally allowed to go on the street. And they're quick travel trips, so typically less than 10 miles. Sandag is implementing a neighborhood electric vehicle component in Chula Vista, but they should be considered kind of to go hand with the age-friendly community plan. And so that's something we encourage in the report is how do we get the Sandag goals of creating the mobility hub pilot program to align with the age-friendly community goals in West Chula Vista. Another creative strategy is a microtransit service provider. So if any of you have been to downtown San Diego and you've seen what's called Fred, sometimes referred to as the circulator, but essentially it's an on-demand transportation service. It's being piloted in a number of major metropolitan cities across the nation, such as Sacramento, New York, and Durham. And what's really cool is that they can be in kind of this hub of an area. And so think of if you're walking outside your apartment, you can do a quick call and say, I need to go to my healthcare facility, or I'm trying to get to the Norman Park Senior Center or the YMCA. You can order it, and it's either discounted or subsidized by the city or for a fee. Another creative strategy that I discovered through this research was that some of the ride-hailing companies, such as Lyft or Uber, are actually partnering with major cities. So Uber right now has a partnership with the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, which is in Boston, Massachusetts. So think of our MTS service provider partnering with Uber to bring paratransit services to the community. So instead of having to wait for one paratransit bus to pick you up or schedule it multiple days, a senior can use the Uber app and order it directly from their phone. And it's actually billed directly, in this pilot in Boston, it's billed directly to the transportation agency. And there's a number of different creative strategies that I outlined in the report, such as in the city of La Mesa, there's a Rides for Neighbors program where neighbors and residents actually provide and volunteer as drivers to provide essential needs trip to residents who are age 60 and years and older. So think about that, those 24% of Californian seniors who live alone and perhaps have no family in nearby. This is an opportunity to have volunteer program or something creative to get people moving around still. And just wrapping up, just in conclusion, I just want to share that the purpose of this document was to align with existing active transportation and senior mobility planning efforts. The city of Chula Vista is doing an amazing job with the active transportation plan and the age-friendly communities plan. But our data really highlighted the need for seniors to access places to recreate, shop, worship, and seek medical services. And so in this document, I've outlined 4 recommendations for creative strategies to improve mobility needs for seniors in West Chula Vista. And just to summarize, they included improving senior transit access, pedestrian safety improvements, a senior media campaign, and creative vehicle-based options. So hopefully together, some of these long and short-term programs, policies, and infrastructure improvements can greatly improve senior mobility in West Chula Vista. And that was a bit of a mouthful for me, but I do want to be able to welcome any comments or questions if Chair Crawford believes that we have time for that.
Thank you so much, Angelica, for that presentation. Before I ask the Commission to present comments or questions, I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item before Commission deliberation, or in this case, comments and questions. To the Commissioners, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. We may now begin right now. The commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the Commissioners had enough time to read the submitted comments?
There was no
Secretary
comment
Gonzalez,
received
would you
at this
please
time.
announce for the record the number of comments received in favor and opposed to this item?
There was no comments received at this time.
Thank you so much. All right, and now moving forward to the commissioners, do any of you have comments or questions? And as a reminder, we are not voting to approve anything. This is strictly just for comments and questions following the report. Commissioner Johnson?
First, Angelica, I want to commend you for your perseverance. It is a wonderful, concise, it's very easy to follow everything that you did, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. It looks, what are the next steps? What's the next, I don't know right now what's going on. What's your direction?
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. And Chair Crawford, am I allowed to comment directly, or how does this work?
You may, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Johnson. It was a great project, and I'm really happy that you found it easy to follow. That was our effort. In terms of next steps, it's hard for me to answer. Unfortunately, our contract with Kaiser Permanente has ended, and there will be no renewal of funds from them. As to be sort of expected, the nature of the healthcare industry has shifted focus and attention, and all funding has been redirected to the current pandemic. In terms of how we can be partners with the city of Chula Vista is ultimately to share these recommendations and continue to offer our services in helping implement this, from just identified strategies to actual tangible solutions. And so we have been in conversations with the city of Chula Vista and hope to continue them. And our thought is hopefully that some of those short-term programmatic strategies that we've outlined, we as Circulate San Diego, but also other nonprofit organizations and local groups can help achieve, such as Transit for Fun training programs. Just, simply said, we can do those for you. And we'd love to continue that partnership. In terms of the infrastructure improvements, that's going to be a long-term goal, but hopefully this report can be used for the city of Chula Vista, and as well as the ATP, as well as the Age-Friendly Communities Plan, to apply for grants and to fund those specific improvement areas.
My apologies, I was on mute. Does anyone else in the commission have any further comments or questions? No. If you don't mind, I do have a question, Angelica. So this has been, the idea of an MTS hub has floated around the senior center, and I was just curious, I don't know how to go about it, but has there been a strategy another city has taken to have something similar, not necessarily at a senior center, but to have like a mini hub where it's easy to access the passes available?
Yeah, and Chair Crawford, you're talking about the, so there were two things about MTS that were brought up, and I just want to make sure I understand which one. Were we talking about the pass enrollment effort, or were we talking about the neighborhood electric vehicles mobility hub that I mentioned?
The enrollment effort.
Okay, great. Not that I have heard of, actually, but so one thing that struck me through, speaking with the residents of Chula Vista is I lived in San Francisco for many years, and to purchase a bus card, you can go to pretty much any Walgreens, any grocery store. And so there's just a lot more access of opportunity nearby into many communities. We don't have the bus ridership like San Francisco does. And so, there's only one center. We did reach out to MTS to see if they were willing to do, or if they had an experience doing this, sort of like enrollment events, and they hadn't yet done it, but they weren't necessarily not interested in starting it. There'd be a lot of efforts that would have to take place from the MTS side of things, because there's forums and that they use to create this enrollment for senior passes or disabilities passes. But I don't think it's off the table. And I think if that's something that the commission or the state of Chula Vista would like to continue pursuing, I think that the conversations we've put into place can help nurture that to move that forward.
All right, thank you so much. That's a fascinating thing to move forward with, but that's definitely something we'll look into. I appreciate it. Are there any other comments or questions from the commission? All right. So as I mentioned before, there is no motion or second needed, so we will not be doing a roll call vote. Angelica, I really want to thank you so much for that report. In addition to the PDF being flawless, the research, the data, it was magnificent. I think this is really going to help us move forward into the next fiscal year talking about transportation. I think the data you provided is going to give us a lot better idea how to address transportation. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, and thank you all for your efforts. I look forward to continuing the conversation and seeing you in the future.
Thank you. All right, moving forward, we're now on action item number 3, finalize Commission on Aging goals and objectives for fiscal year 2019-2020. For this item, there is no presentation, but I would like to allow any of the commissioners to talk about anything of concern from the goals and objectives, anything we should discuss before we end this meeting. If you don't mind, I do want to comment on something, and this kind of goes a little beyond the goals and objectives for this fiscal year, but I want to address it given our circumstances as of now. I've been really thinking a lot about how we go about the goals and objectives. Obviously, there have been some that we have not completed, and a lot of it has to do with quorums and just the ability to collaborate or get information to complete the goals and objectives. For example, items number 1 and 3, those ones will be definitely something to look forward to in the future, but I certainly don't expect to finish those as of now. And the reason why I bring the goals and objectives up, especially now, is we're all going through COVID-19, and I think it's impacted us, whether personally, professionally, and I've been really thinking a lot about this, and considering we can't really act on these goals, or we can't act on these objectives and creating these goals, I want to say perhaps we might want to do a standstill on these for now. I think for now, the COVID-19 is indefinite. We really don't know when we'll be able to complete these at all. Who's to say we'll even complete them by the end of 2020-2021 fiscal year? I think what we need to focus on right now is the need to make sure that senior services are provided and thinking of strategies to make sure they continue, even if it's on a different platform. So I would like to see if the commission is interested in making a motion to forbear on these goals and objectives and really focus on COVID-19. And the reason why I'm asking this is, in addition to the pandemic, I'm noticing that we've cut staff pretty significantly in Parks and Rec, and that kind of gives me a sign that senior services might be affected. But I also want to make sure that I give staff the opportunity to comment on what are the updates on senior services. Do we have any by staff, any reports talking about that?
There's a verbal presentation.
There is a verbal presentation.
There is?
Yes, give us one moment, please.
Okay, thank you so much.
Staff will speak on it.
Go ahead.
Check, check. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Commissioners, good afternoon. It's Aaron Ruiz, Norman Park Senior Center. Nice to see you all after a few months. I think Commissioner Crawford has a great idea to postpone some of those. I think what we're going through, what I wanted to just say on a staff report level was the current state of Norman Park Senior Center. I know since March of this year, we've unfortunately had to let go of all of our part-time staff. So my colleagues and I have been assisting the Community Services Department in various needs. That includes food distribution to seniors or those individuals who call the 211 hotline. I know that the library department, as part of the Community Services Department, has been assisting with the 211 calls. So as you guys could imagine, there was so many calls that the county was receiving. So, you know, we have been assisting with that and distributing food to those who had called that number or those residents that were in need. Also, we have started, and we all know that we virtually have to communicate to our seniors. So one of the things that we were able to launch was a senior roundtable. For that, we have looked at different topics that maybe seniors had questions on. For the last 2 weeks it has halted. We did receive a grant from the Community Congregational Development Corporation, which is the CCDC, the tower next to Norman Park Senior Center. They are assisting us, or they did give us a grant of $5,000 that is able to allow us to purchase equipment so that we can enhance that program, as that we see the pandemic is not ending anytime soon, and it's going to force us to virtually communicate to our seniors in Chula Vista. So we will be getting back on that, and I welcome any kind of topics and feedback when it comes to the senior roundtable so that we can communicate to the seniors in that fashion. Along with that, I know that the city passed the digital equity plan. I know in my talks with Stacy Kurtz and Dennis Gokunga from the city, we are looking at efforts to get Wi-Fi to different parts of the city because we know that there is a challenge with some seniors that are just not connected. And so we need to reach out to them. And I think at first glance, we looked at some of the mobile home parks where there definitely is a need. And so we will be looking at a process on how to get those out. But we just talked about that. We're looking at different options. Obviously, promoting our programs through the internet and our new YouTube channel through CV Rec is what we are going to encourage everyone to do. We have a lot of county programs like yoga classes, just different things that you may need as a senior. But I know our effort is going to be the roundtable and also how to get internet out to seniors so that we can communicate with them better. So that's what we are currently working on. I know that our goals and objectives also shifted quite a bit, kind of went out the window. But this is the way we are adapting to the COVID-19.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I really appreciate it. Before we go into any questions, sorry?
Paul, this is Sean. I'd like to speak as well.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. Thank you so much.
So I just want to echo what Aaron says. Nice to see you guys after a long break. This has been a great meeting. This has far exceeded the expectations. So I really like this meeting. Turned out really good. So first, what I'd like to talk about today is, in addition to what Aaron said, we as far as stuff we've done during this crisis, we had a list of about 150 seniors, and we did emergency call out, basically a call out list, and we started out calling them daily, a couple days a week. Then as time has gone, it's been a week and a half, every 2 weeks. but it's been very successful. We got this list from our CDBG customers at the Norman Park Center. And basically calling to check on the local seniors around Chula Vista and checking on them, seeing how they're doing, if they have any needs, if we can help them meet their needs. For the most part, it was very successful. The seniors that we talked to, they really appreciate it. And a lot of them just wanted somebody to talk to, and we were happy to do that. So that's one thing that we've been doing during this time off. And in addition, I wanted to give out kind of a what's been going on over at Norman Park Senior Center itself, with all the work that's been going on. So right now, since we last met, they finished the west side of the room with all the carpet and all that stuff in the bathrooms and the kitchen. Since then, they did a lot of work on the roof and the balcony, and that is all complete. They also painted the outside of the building. If you've driven by that, you said it looks really nice. Offices are painted and carpeted on the first floor. Next, they're going to be working on they are currently working on the multi-purpose room. They're doing the painting and stuff in there right now. And then after they finish that, they'll be doing the floor refinishing, and that's going to happen after the painting. And then in August, there's going to be post-construction cleaning, and that's pretty much, I think, going to wrap everything up according to this. So hopefully by our next meeting, I'll talk to Public Works, and we'll have a formal presentation from them on what's going on with that facility and on how everything turned out.
Oh, Sean, thank you so much for that presentation. Do we have any other further staff presentations?
I have a question for Sean.
Yes.
Sean, when you mentioned there were 150 numbers of people from the senior center that you had been calling, where did you get those names? I didn't quite catch that.
Participants in our CDBG program.
What is that?
Sorry, all of our programs. Participants in our programs around the Norman Park.
So anyone who was at a program was on the list to call?
Whoever signed up for these programs, if we had their information, their names and phone numbers, we would give them a call.
So, personal, what I look out for is the Chula Vista walks. Were they part of that group? Because we had filled out registration forms maybe in January.
Okay, I'm not sure if their names were on that list or not.
Okay, I hadn't asked them, but I was just curious. Nobody's mentioned anything. One gal did, nobody else had. So I was curious where you got the numbers from. Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Joyce. I have a comment. A quick comment. First of all, I want to thank Sean and his group for doing that. And I also want to mention that serving seniors, they have a program as well. If you know of any seniors that are at home by themselves, they can sign up to receive 3 phone calls throughout the week to see how they're doing. And it's a very nice volunteer program as well. But I'm really glad to see that Chula Vista and Sean's group were being very proactive with contacting our senior citizens. Again, thank you so much.
Paul, can you please unmute yourself?
Yours were 3.
Okay. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item before the commission deliberation. For the commissioners, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. We are now starting the 2-minute timestamp. Commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the commissioners had enough time to read the submitted comments? Secretary Gonzalez, would you please announce for the record the numbers of comments received in favor and opposed to the item?
There were no comments received at this time.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Do any commissioners have comments or questions regarding this action item? Once again, we are talking about finalizing the goals and objectives for fiscal year 2019-2020. For me, I do want to reiterate the need to move these goals and objectives. How I feel is we might want to consider moving them and discussing which ones are necessary at that time at a further date. What I would like to do, though, is see if there is any motion to assist with the COVID-19 efforts for Parks and Rec, see what we could do to help out. And then that way, with whatever the city of Chula Vista is doing, we could do our best to assist as well.
Chair Crawford, you could offer this as a consensus to postpone.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. That might be a good idea. It seems like we might have we need some time to think about it until the next meeting. I think we should postpone this item. Do I have a motion to postpone action item number 3, finalize Commission on Aging goals and objectives for fiscal year 2019-2020?
Hi, this is Tashar with the City Clerk's Office. So what Neil is trying to explain that you really just need a consensus of the counts of the group to postpone this item, and that's perfectly fine. If you can get a consensus from the folks that are here online, then we can postpone this item. Doesn't necessarily have to be a vote.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. For consensus, would the secretary mind doing a roll call to get a consensus of postponement?
Commissioners, if you guys would like to support this consensus, just say yes and raise your hand, please.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
For the record, we have a general consensus.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so we will be postponing action item number 3 till next time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, for moving forward for other business, this is time for chair comments. I just want to say this was a really good opportunity for us to meet again. I will admit, even for me, it's different. Definitely speaking to a webcam is far different than speaking to an individual. However, this is just as effective, and I think this is something we really needed in order to move forward with the commission's planning to do. While this is a meeting that gauged comfort and for us to listen to a great report, I definitely hope that we could see a lot more participation and activity for the next meeting. Like I mentioned, while we might not follow the goals and objectives or any new ones moving forward, I think the best interest for the community, if we're thinking about our seniors, is to help out the best we can. And while that may not be a significant strategy, we do have a resource such as from Circulate San Diego, using that, which also could help with COVID. And we're talking about transportation. And as Commissioner Kelly brought up, collaborating with other not-for-profits, helping staff from Parks and Recs to call seniors. I think we have an objective. It may not be so formal as to put on an agenda, but I think we have a lot of work to do. And perhaps we could talk about that in the upcoming meeting after this. And I end my chair comments at that. Commissioner comments? Are there any commissioners that would like to speak at this time? All right. Staff comments?
Yeah, so what I was going to say is I kind of jumped the gun and said what I was going to say early. So I just wanted to once again reiterate to thank you guys for showing up for this today. And Paul brings up a good point of assisting us with our calls. That's something definitely we could need help with. We could also use assistance in enhancing our list, as Madeline kind of brought up, that some people probably aren't getting called. We're trying to get as many as possible. So I think it's a great idea if you guys wanted to help out with this and also help us enhance our list of our call outs. Just once again, I just want to reiterate, thank you for coming today, guys.
Thank you, Sean, and I want to follow up with that. If any of you would like to participate, please reach out. This is a great opportunity, and I definitely will be doing this. I see a lot of success in this, and we have a huge senior population, west and east side of Chula Vista. So let's do our best to reach out and touch some hearts while we're able to. And then don't worry, Sean, I did a misstep earlier too. So this is all new to us. So we'll definitely be we'll be well informed next time, and everything will be much more smooth. All right. So I am adjourning this meeting of the Commission on Aging. It is 2:20 p.m. on July 8th. And do we know when the next meeting will be?
It's to be determined at this time.
Thank you. All right. Next meeting is to be determined. Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a great day, guys.